Hey, HorseCenter fans, Matt and I are back with another edition of HorseCenter today. Matt, we're talking Kentucky Derby.
We sure are, Brian. We've got the LeCompte at Fairgrounds, starting off the New Orleans road to the Kentucky Derby and the Silver Bullet Day for the fillies.
Going to the Kentucky Oaks, maybe out of the Silver Bullet Day, Matt. But most of all, we got our new Kentucky Derby top 10 rankings, mine and Matt's. Where are we different? Where are we similar? Watch it all now, right here on HorseCenter. Welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by my co-host to the East Coast. That's Matt Shipman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm great, Brian. We're ready to do a show. We got lots of Derby doings this week.
That's right, Matt. We're going to bust out our brand new first of the year 2019 Kentucky Derby top 10 rankings for both of us. But first, I want to head down to the Big Easy, Matt, down New Orleans way. Fairgrounds has a couple of big 3-year-old races this weekend. Saturday, we got the LeCompte Kentucky Derby points race. And also, we got to start thinking about the Kentucky Oaks with the Silver Bullet Day. Let's start with the boys, Matt. The LeCompte drew a full field of 14. And I don't know about you, but I couldn't throw out too many horses of the 14.
Hey, Brian, that's for sure. Anytime the morning line comes out and the favorite is 9-2, you know you've got a wide open field. And in this race, Plus K Parfait is the 9-2 favorite.
Absolutely, Matt. It sounds like a good betting race to me. Let's start with the favorite, Plus K Parfait. Actually ran a very good race last time, went second as a long shot in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Just missed by a neck to a horse we liked quite a bit, and that's Signalman. So a very good race last time, which was late November, about a month and a half off. Before that, he won a long, extended battle in his third start at Keeneland. Showed a little more speed at Keeneland, but in the stakes race, he rallied. So from the 12 hole, I think we can expect him to be coming off the pace, Matt. But like I said, there's many to talk about, so let's just keep jumping in. There's two coming out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. That day, Mr. Money did a heck of a lot better than Tight 10 did. But for Mr. Money, that was his stakes debut. Son of Golden Sense for trainer Brett Calhoun. He's been working at Fairgrounds. And I think, Matt, for my money, no pun intended, Mr. Money might actually be in a wide open race, might be the horse to beat in here.
I kind of agree with that also, Brian. Mr. Money ran a very good fourth in there. He didn't have a perfect trip in that race. And as we've been seeing, horses coming out of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile thus far this year have been doing well. Brett Calhoun, his horses have been running fantastic. So just on that Breeders' Cup Juvenile performance, I agree. I think he is the horse to beat. You mentioned Tight 10, who also ran in the Breeders' Cup, ran ninth, but he had a really bad trip, and pretty much that race for the Steve Asmussen runner is a throwout in there. But before that, Tight 10 ran second in the Saratoga Special, third in the Iroquois. Been knocking on the door a lot. So in this big field, it looks like a little bit of a tough spot for Tight 10 to break through.
Yeah, well, Tight 10, I thought he ran very well in those races. I believe he was second in the Saratoga Special and the Iroquois for trainer Steve Asmussen and the Winchell crew there. They've got two in here, by the way, Matt, and the other one, Wicked Indeed, is a very well-bred horse. He'd have to step up from the rail on Saturday, but another one to watch. Tight 10 has good speed, as he showed in the Saratoga Special and the Iroquois. He's coming out of the 11 hole in here, so he'll have to work a little bit to get position heading into the first turn. But every reason to expect him to improve on that 9th place finish in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, because he really did get a bad trip that day. Mr. Money is a horse I knew about before he ever raced. He was well-liked here at Churchill Downs, the Son of Golden Sense. And in his third start, he looked good winning. And then, as you said, that Breeders' Cup Juvenile was a real good performance running fourth. Matt, what about the Cassie horse? Another horse who ran in the Breeders' Cup is War of Will. He's actually run in a bunch of stakes races, and he competed he was certainly competitive in all of them, including the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. I'm talking about War of Will, and got on dirt and found a sloppy track actually for his dirt debut, broke his maiden, won by 5 lengths. So I think War of Will is another one to watch. And Matt, I can't throw out Manny Wah, who is an experienced son of Will Take Charge and ran a very good race to Chase Gray attempt home locally in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, Manny Wah is an interesting one. Lots and lots of experience for this Wayne Catalano runner with 8 starts and a couple of wins. A nice second in the Sugar Bowl. The Sugar Bowl had a nice field in there, and so that race is a feather in his cap. You can never count out Wayne Catalano in these big races. I think you're going to get a good price on that one. The Cassie horse, that you mentioned, War of Will, had run in 3 graded stakes races on the turf, competitive in all of them, and then won that race on the slop. But that isn't necessarily an indication that he's going to love a dry dirt course, because a lot of times turf horses will do well on the slop. So we'll see on that. But lots of experience in there with those. A horse that we haven't mentioned is a horse that I like in this field, who is Tackett, for Michael Stidham, has been training down there, has just had a nice allowance win going the distance of ground at the fairgrounds. Is listed at 6-1 on the morning line. Joe Bravo is up. I think this is a horse that's getting better, that'll like the distance, and will be making a move in there. So if I've got to pick one out of this LeCompte field, I'm going to pick Tackett. I'm looking for some odds in there. Hard to go with favorites. Brian, I know you like another horse in here that's going to be a price.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. We haven't even talked about my top pick yet, but Tackett, I think you're going to get 6-1, probably a little bit more than that. Tackett's coming in for good form, as you said, for Stidham, so he's another one to watch. You like him a little bit more than I do, but I could see him running big. Hog Creek Hustle, you mentioned the Sugar Bowl. He was 3rd that day. I can't throw him out. What about Chase the Ghost, Matt? Dallas Stewart, proving cult for Dallas Stewart there, and Dallas Stewart certainly has great experience over the fairgrounds track in these preps. The horse I like the best, though, Matt, is should be double digits, and that's Joe Sharp's entrance. His name, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Malpays. Malpays is a son of Hardspun. He's only run twice. I thought he was a good effort at Churchill Downs first time, but he got a lot out of that. Went down to fairgrounds, and he ran a big maiden race, really looked good. The son of Hardspun out of an El Corredor mare, Sharp maiden win at 6 furlongs. Now he stretches out to 1.70 miles. I like Hardspun's doing that, and I think the female side has enough bottom where he can get this distance. Plus, Matt, there's not a ton of speed in here. We mentioned tight 10, maybe Mr. Money is close, but there's not a lot of true speed in here. So Malpays coming off those sharp sprints, where he showed pace and out of the 2-hole, I think he'll show a lot of pace. We know Joe Sharp has done well in these Derby preps down in New Orleans before as well. So Malpays, I'm hoping for pretty big odds there. And I'll throw in another long one, Matt, that we haven't mentioned either, and that's the Tom Amoss entry. Royland has run a lot of good races. Last time he was 5th in the Kentucky Jockey Club, but he was making up ground. He gets blinkers down at fairgrounds. If he's let go at big odds, I think he's another horse to watch out for as well.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of horses coming down the stretch in this race, and it's going to take a good trip to be the winner.
That's right. You need some luck, but on the other hand, if you can pick out a winner in here, you should be rewarded handsomely. Even if you like a favorite, the payoffs are going to be good. But both Matt and I are a little bit looking for even bigger odds. His horse is 6-1 on the morning line. That's Tackett. I think he'll be higher. My horse is 12-1 on the morning line. That's Malpays. So take a shot in the LeCompte. It might really pay off, Matt. I have a feeling that we're going to have a double-digit odds winner there. I don't think the same about the Silver Bullet Day. The LeCompte drew 14. The Silver Bullet Day, the Philly counterpart, only drew 7, Matt. Having said that, there's some interesting fillies in the 7-horse field, and it's led by Leora. And folks, if you remember, Leora, a well-bred daughter of Candy Ride, for the Catman trainer, Wayne Catalano, pulled off a pretty nice upset when she won the Goldenrod, Matt, by a nose, by a whisker, over the really good Restless Rider.
Yes, that was a big upset. Restless Rider is a very, very talented filly, but we do need to note that that victory came on a sloppy track, and Candy rides are have a reputation to doing very well on those kind of wet tracks. So the Goldenrod victory makes Leora a likely favorite, but in my mind, there are question marks because that was a sloppy track. It is only a 7-horse field, but I think it's a pretty wide open 7-horse field. Again, like you said about LeCompte, I don't think there's a lot of real speed in there. There are some horses that might want to be a little more forwardly placed.
Yeah, well, if we're talking speed, I think we got to mention Needs Supervision. She's a daughter of Painter who, after running second in her first start, she's traveled a little bit around, and she's coming off 2 nice wins where she did show quite a bit of speed. So Needs Supervision will be one of the horses they bet, and one of the horses that will probably vie for the early lead. Leora as well, Matt. I will temper your, I think what you said was very wise to take that slop win over Restless Rider with a little bit of hesitation, but the truth is she beat probably a grade 1 filly in Restless Rider, and the race before that was on a fast dirt, and she won by 9 lengths. So I think the well-bred daughter of Candy Ride out of a stakes mare is coming into her own, and she's a legitimate favorite in here, Matt. But with some speed, maybe there's and Cowgirls Like Us, another one coming in with some pace as well, coming off 3 straight stakes wins. Actually, she won her last trapeze at Remington Park. She has some pace. I'm looking for horses that might come off the pace a little bit, Matt. And I like what I see from Grandaria a little bit.
Grandaria, that's Brandon Walsh, a daughter of Curlin. Just won an allowance race at Fairgrounds, so certainly one to watch in there. I'm also interested a little bit in Mandy Blue for Brad Cox, who's a daughter of Smart Strike. 2 for 2, won an allowance race, won its maiden race, and then won an allowance race on the turf. But Brad Cox has been known to do that when stretching out horses to stretch them out on the turf and then send them back to the dirt. He did that with a certain filly last year. I think her name was Monomoy Girl. He made that similar kind of move. I am in no way comparing Mandy Blue to Monomoy Girl or saying that she's of that quality. Just pointing out that that turf victory for Mandy Blue doesn't mean that Cox thinks she's a turf horse and going to be a really good turf horse. It's just, I know a move that I talk to him about that he likes to make with young horses when stretching them out to run them on the grass where the going's a little bit easier. So I like Mandy Blue a little bit. I also like Needs Supervision. Noticing the ownership there, you got some big names that bought into that horse. Sal Kuman and one of his partnerships is in on Needs Supervision. So I think there are people that think that horse has some talent.
Yeah, for me, Matt, it comes down to 4 horses. Needs Supervision, I'm going to lay off of here. I need to see her against better horses, especially since I think she might be out there with Leora, who's got a little bit more experience. I think Leora, as I said, is a legitimate threat in here. Mandy Blue is very interesting, and I'm glad you compared her to Monomoy Girl, because I was going to do the same thing, Matt. There are some similarities there before Monomoy Girl took to graded stakes racing. She ran both on the turf and Indiana Downs, as has Mandy Blue. And, 2 for 2, Cox and Giroux, you got to pay attention to her. I don't think she'll be let go on the odds board with that undefeated Cox-Giroux connection, but she's one to watch for. But I really do think Grandaria has a real shot here, and maybe she's off at the 3rd or 4th choice. Curlin on one side, she's out of a AP Indy mare for Brendan Walsh. And folks, if you don't know trainer Brendan Walsh yet, he's a trainer I think that's going to be making more and more news based out of Kentucky here. And I really like what she did in her second, third starts, with maiden win and then allowance win, where she really blew by the field pretty well. So I think with a little bit of pace, like we said, Leora needs supervision. I think Grandaria might be in with a good shot. And yeah, I'm thinking fourth choice in here, Matt, for Grandaria. So no stretches at the LeCompte with only half the number of entrants. But again, there's some betting options in here.
Yeah, I agree with that, Brian. I'm going to go with Mandy Blue and then keep an eye out. Wayne Catalano, I guess, has a pretty good shot to win both these races.
That's right. The Catman is in with 2 shots in there. All right, Matt, we're going to transition from the previews at New Orleans to what people really want to see, Matt. They want to see us talking about the Kentucky Derby and how wrong we can truly be with our top 10 lists. I don't know, a little over 3.5 months out before the Kentucky Derby. Matt, when Brett puts these top 10 lists on the screen here for the folks to see, one of us have the correct number 1 horse and one of us don't. Will you explain, please?
Well, we have the same 2 horses, Brian, in the number 1 and number 2 spots, but I have Game Winner at the number 1 spot, and you have Improbable.
That's right, Matt. You have the correct horse at number 1. For any intelligent human being, you'd have to have Game Winner at number 1. Let's face it, he was the best 2-year-old in the country last year. He was dominant both in California, winning those races, and then coming to the Breeders' Cup and really getting it done on the outside in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So Game Winner, 4 for 4, Bob Baffert. What's not to like? Yet somehow I have him at number 2, the dummy that I am. But hey, I have him at number 2 for a reason, Matt. I really do like Improbable. Another Bob Baffert trainee, by the way. Improbable really impressed me on the undercard of the Breeders' Cup, winning that minor stakes race at Churchill Downs. He's also undefeated 3 for 3 because he went back out to California and really looked like the genuine article again in the Los Al Futurity. 2 Bob Bafferts, 1, 2, either order. Matt's got the right one. I got the wrong one. Either way, these 2 look very strong at 1 and 2.
Yeah, but with us having them reversed on our lists, it does make a point that these are 2 Bob Bafferts, and they are at this point probably in a lot of people's minds the top 2 horses in there. Game Winner has returned to the work tab, and Bob Baffert the other day announced that Game Winner is going to have a 2 prep race run up to the first Saturday in May.
Yeah, that's another candy ride, isn't it, Matt? We're seeing a lot of candy rides lately. Hey, number 3, I think Matt and I start jumping around a little bit more, although, Matt, we're strangely similar here in our top 10s, but I don't think a lot of people have Signalman this high, but a big, strong, really big, strong colt for trainer Kenny McPeak. We was knocking on the door for a while, and he got the job done at Churchill Downs in the Kentucky Jockey Club. I just think he's a Kentucky Derby type of horse. We both have him at number 3.
Yeah, Brian, and he did run very well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile also. And like you said, that big, strong kind of horse, they're the kind that get better and better as they grow and mature in their 3-year-old year. And that's what you need in the Kentucky Derby. You need strong horses that can handle the big field and the distance. We see a lot of promise in Signalman, I think.
We do, Matt. And then number 4, 5, and 6, I see that we have the same horses, just in a somewhat different order there. So let's knock them off one at a time. You have Instagram at number 4, just super, super impressive. I mean, he was a hot horse at the 2-year-old in training sale early last year, and then he looked everything like that horse that people were buzzing about for trainer Jerry Hollendorfer in a couple of sprints. We haven't seen him since, though.
Yeah, and I think he's, just because of what you said, he's gotten a little bit forgotten. Remember, his owner, Larry Best, said, hey, okay, enough this year. I'm pulling him out. I want him to get some time. I want him to grow up. I want him to mature, and we'll come back in on the Derby trail. you can't argue with that idea. He's not getting experience, but he is young, and let him grow up. Let his bones, let him grow into his bones and become a stronger horse for the Derby Trail. I heard Hollendorfer talking. He has nothing but good things to say. So those three that we talked about are real close in my mind. But I thought, hey, I'm not forgetting about Instagram.
No, you can't forget about Instagram, and especially since he's come back to the work tab in recent weeks, things are looking good again for Jerry Hollendorfer's Instagram. Interesting decision by the owner, Larry Best, but certainly a big talent. We need to see him do something other than sprint, though, to have him move up on this list, but obviously a horse to watch out for in 2019. And Matt, I'm liking Maximus Mischief, liking what I'm seeing out of Maximus Mischief more and more. I was a little tough on him in the Remsen because I didn't think in the stretch of that mile and eighth race he was super impressive. On the other hand, I liked what I saw, how relaxed he was during the race, and he got a quick freshening, and now he's back on the work tab in South Florida. His first workout looked good. Maximus Mischief, for a few reasons, continues to remind me of Smarty Jones a little bit. Again, we're throwing out big names here that probably he'll never live up to. But there's a lot to like, I think, with Maximus Mischief, the undefeated horse who started his career at Parks.
Yeah, and, Maximus Mischief has done a couple of things early in his career and done them well that a lot of other horses on the Derby Trail have not. As a 2-year-old, his victories earned really high buyer speed figures, as high as almost anybody in the on the Derby Trail. And as you mentioned in the Remsen, he went 1 1/8 already. And that is not an easy thing to do. That's not a typical kind of combination that you see with young horses. That speed part is an element that a lot of people look for, because bottom line is you got to be fast to win races. And Maximus Mischief has shown that, and has already shown that he can get the 9 furlongs.
He can get the 9 furlongs against a lesser bunch, but I need to see him do it against a better bunch. But I like Maximus Mischief. Hey, Matt, that's 2 Into Mischief colts that are undefeated as well, with a lot of talent to look out for. Then the next horse we're going to go to, Matt, is a horse who's already won in 2019. That's saying something. And, this is a horse we've been watching since his maiden race. Centennial Farms has Mijos as a horse to watch out for after that exciting late kick he turned in the Mucho Macho Man.
Yeah, he certainly impressed in that performance with a nice move in there, beating a decent field, several horses, Gulfstream Park based, home track with some tactical speed. He was really impressive in there. Of course, Code of Honor was in that race and disappointed a little bit, but and he's off of our list. But Shug McGahee is not disappointed in Code of Honor and is going to continue on the Derby Trail to the Fountain of Youth with that horse.
Yeah, Code of Honor, Coliseum, 2 horses who disappointed recently are off our top 10 list, but I wouldn't forget about either one, folks. Both could jump right back in with a better performance next time. Hey, Matt, speaking of back on the work tab, let's talk a little bit about Mucho. Mucho was a horse I liked last summer quite a bit. I believe he was second in the Hopeful. Nice win at Saratoga for trainer Bill Mott. The Son of Blame, to me, always looked like a 1 1/4 horse, even though he was sprinting last summer. He missed some time. Now he's back on the work tab. Mucho's a horse I still expect big things from.
Yeah, I agree, Brian. And I found it to be a very encouraging sign that he's back in the work tab. And Bill Mott, the trainer, is known for his patience. So to me, whatever was going on, as minor 2-year-old things can be, Mott was mostly saying, hey, this is a talented horse that can get the distance. I'm going to give him some time. And now he's back in training already, which is a signal that Bill Mott is serious about the Kentucky Derby with this one. And Mott's never won the Derby, but it's never been a race that he pushes horses to get ready for. So I think it's a really good sign to see Mucho on the work tab.
Once again, we're on the same page there, Matt, because I'm thinking exactly what you are. Bill Mott is not a horse to push his early 3-year-olds at all. And for him to be working Mucho early in the year tells me that this is a horse he thinks he can have ready for the Kentucky Derby, and is a horse he really wants to see run in the Kentucky Derby. So Mucho, we look forward to his return. We look forward to the return of Vekoma, Matt. Still undefeated, and Vekoma, a maiden win and a Nashua win. He's already beaten some good horses out there in New York.
Yeah, and another one of those horses that got good speed figures, whatever kind of speed figures it is that you prefer. Got big speed figures in his races. This is a George Weaver trainee, and has gone down to Florida to prepare for the run for the Derby. I guess I've still maybe got more question marks in my mind about this one because his races were a bit earlier on, and so I'm eager to see him come back to the track.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Matt. Although certainly in both the maiden and the Nashua, he ran against some good horses, so that's a good sign for Vekoma and trainer George Weaver. Another horse we have both on our lists, Matt, is Gunmetal Gray. And as we trailed off last week from HorseCenter, we saw Gunmetal Gray picking them up and laying them down in the stretch to win the Sham, Matt. He was not as good as game winner last year by no means, but he's a rallying horse. Trained by Jerry Hollendorfer, a mile and a quarter should be okay. West Point Thoroughbreds, for all those reasons, he's a horse that's probably going to just stick around the bottom of my top 10 for a while.
Yeah, and there's nothing that you can knock about this horse. He picked up a win in the Sham out at Santa Anita, and I think they want to stay out in the West if they can, because I don't know, maybe it's seeming to be a little less daunting out there. Maybe the Baffert gang is maybe it isn't 6-7 deep as maybe we thought at some point, but this is a horse that's on the improve and has every right to be interesting as we move along the Derby trail.
Yeah, and Matt, there's a couple of horses that each of us have only on our list. I'll start with mine, the Son of Quality Road, another Bob Baffert Roadster. Roadster was majorly talked about last summer. He got beat in a stakes race, and then everybody seemed to forget about him a little bit. I think there's a ton of talent there for trainer Bob Baffert. Back on the work tab, I want to see Roadster, what he can do in 2019.
Yeah, and I kind of did the same thing. Brian threw in a horse that maybe wasn't expected to be in our top 10s, and the one I threw in is Heikel. Heikel ran a good first maiden special weight against some good horses, and then came back in his second try against maidens, and coming off his performance in his first try was expected to win this race and did so. I liked what I saw in terms of his victory. A nice closing move, and he did it coming up the rail, and that's something that I like to see. A little courage coming up the rail for a 2-year-old is a really good sign. Those were both 6 furlong races, so we got to go 2 turns. But I saw some things that I like as he continues on the Derby trail and probably hits a Derby points race next time. We'll see. He could maybe move up my list, or that could be it. But I thought I'd throw him in. Yeah,
and he's a half brother to a really fast horse from a couple years ago, Matt. So I wonder how good he'll be at a distance. But certainly those closing kicks in those 2 main special weight races were noticeable. So good job there on throwing in a kind of a long shot into your top 10. I know he's your Earlywood Memorial horse for what it's worth, so good luck with him. Folks, that's our Kentucky Derby top 10s respectively. Sorry, Matt and I are so similar, or maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we finally are onto something this year. Folks, as always, I want to thank you for watching every week. I also want to thank our sponsor, the best contest site out there, Derby Wars. If you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel here on Horse Racing Nation, please do so. And Matt, we got a lot going on with Derby Day Racing. Pain is my gain. Our 2-year-old colt out of Trap Shot is on the mend. He's up here in Kentucky. He's going to get a little time off, Matt, but we expect him back a little later this year. But of course, our filly, the Looking at Lucky filly, Sooner Schooner, she'll be running at Fairgrounds this week.
Yeah, Brian, we're just a couple days away. She's running on Thursday in the 8th race at Fairgrounds. I think post time is scheduled just a little bit before 4 o'clock. She's breaking from the rail in a 2-turn race on the turf. So we're looking for improvement from our filly, and Brian and I and all of our partners are excited about that. And any of you fans that want to watch and root our horse along, we appreciate the support.
We sure do, as we appreciate all the help we get from Brett Workman, our producer, every single week. Matt, good luck to all the Derby Day Racing partners out there. Sooner Schooner on Thursday. And Matt, how about as we trail off, I show you a race from Western Canada. What's that? No, Brett, it's not Western Canada. It's the La Cañada from Santa Anita. I'm talking about Escape Clause, folks. And to show you that a good horse can come from anywhere, this former Western Canadian filly has come down to Southern California, and she's tearing it up. Let's watch Escape Clause as she rolls in the La Cañada.
And they're off in the La Cañada. True Royalty was out alertly, so is Escape Clause. Stradella Road is sent very hard by Bejarano along the inside, intent on getting to the front, and she does. Lamuna is tucked in just behind the leaders, a close-up 4th. They are followed by Bernina Star and KP Wildcat. Compact group, 5 lengths covers them, 6 furlongs to run, and it's Stradella Road leading it by a neck. True Royalty presses in 2nd, a length and a half to Escape Clause 3rd. Lamuna on the inside 4th, 3.5 lengths off the lead, 2 clear of KP Wildcat, and Bernina Star is at the back. They have 5/8 of a mile to go in the La Cañada Stakes, and it's Stradella Road, 3/4 of a length. True Royalty keeps the pressure on 2nd. Escape Clause a tracking 3rd. Lamuna joined by Bernina Star along the inside, who's now only 3 lengths off the lead. KP Wildcat's at the back. Heading to the 3/8 pole, Stradella Road's been there every step of the way, maintains a 3/4 length lead on True Royalty. Escape Clause now makes a bold move, though, and Escape Clause inhales Stradella Road around the far turn and kicks smartly for home. KP Wildcat is in 3rd, Bernina Star. They're at the top of the stretch, and Escape Clause threatening to turn this into a romp. She's in front by 6. KP Wildcat takes up the chase on the outside of Stradella Road, but with an 1/8 of a mile to go, it's the Canadian sensation Escape Clause clear by 5. She's a win machine. Victory number 19 comes in the Grade 3 La Cañada. Escape Clause rolls. KP Wildcat 2nd, Lamuna 3rd, Stradella Road 4th, Bernina Star finish 5th.